Hello everyone and welcome back to another awesome episode of Historical Recreations. Today I'm going to be showing you the absolute best secrets on how to make perfect stencils. Join me. Materials needed to make perfect stencils today. I'm going to be demonstrating this first of all. This is a pre-made, pre-punched, pre-created stencil that you can purchase at any arts and crafts center. There are literally hundreds of thousands of different types of stencils you can purchase. Now, as a prop maker myself, I'm always doing custom design work. So if you cannot find what you're looking for, you need to create them. And I'm going to demonstrate that here on Historical Recreations. You're going to be using some of this. It's called OHP plastic, which stands for overhead projection. And you can purchase this at any stationery or office supply center. Soft masking tape, a pair of scissors, an Echo blade, a cutting board. I highly recommend using a soft plastic one. You can get this at any type of kitchen store, especially like Walmart. I'll be demonstrating today using acrylic paints. The reason why is you can use all types of different paints while stenciling, but I highly recommend using acrylic or what I'll be showing to you next. Acrylic paints are easy to work with and you can wash them out. And there's a little bit of leniency between drying time. Today I'm using a set that I had purchased at a dollar store, and I'm also be using some of them from my collection. Today I'll be using some cardboard to create a backing for two different types of fabrics I'll be demonstrating. Using two different types of fabric paints, because if you're stenciling with fabric paints, you can then wash the fabric and then have that design forever. The last thing I'll be demonstrating today is these. These are professional stenciling brushes. The reason why you don't want to use other types of brushes is because they are specially designed just for stamping, okay? These are called rounds, and they come from 1/4 of an inch all the way up to 1 inch in circumference. Different styles of brushes for different type of expenses. With that, let's go. So how to do a stencil correctly. The first thing is I'm going to be doing a stencil on paper today. I have a second piece of paper over here which will be used as a blotter, and I'm using a little bit of paper towel also. This is very important. The secret of making a really good stencil is not too much paint, but not enough paint. Believe it or not, going dry on the stenciling is the absolute best way to do a stencil. And I'm also going to be securely placing masking tape. Now the great thing about masking tape is it doesn't really stick to anything. You can just, even on paper, you can pull it off very easily. So today I'm using my blotter over here, and we're going to start off with a red. And if you're wondering what this is a lotus flower. I just love lotus flowers. And I'm going to be doing a red first layer. I'm going to be using, I'm going to say, the small round today. You're going to charge up your brush. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm stamping here. And then I'm going onto my blotter, and I'm getting rid of the excess. We would like a fairly dry stencil tip. And going around very carefully the edges of the stencil. You don't want the color seeping underneath that plastic. It's better to put not enough paint than to put too much paint. Too much paint, it looks terrible. So we want that very light stippling essence to show up. You can always layer over more. So let me now finish the first outline of the stencil completely, and I'll show you what it looks like. There. Once your brush is loaded up, now you can go in with your second color. Oh yes, very nice. Our stencil paint is completely dry now. Very carefully, just take off the masking tape. So the first part of my demonstration today is how to create a stencil like this. Now look very carefully. What stencils are essences of an object, okay? So basically they're just blocks of information, formation, and shapes. Usually stencils do not have extreme detail in them for reasons that was the quality of the artwork of the time, and a lot of stencils were created during the 1700s. So let's look into what creates a good stencil. Here I had just made a photocopy of a pine tree that I had loved. We're just going to overlay it with a piece of overhead projection plastic. And for my purposes here, because I don't want any mistakes, I'm going to put some masking tape over my overhead projection plastic to keep it firmly in place. Now I'm going to trace around the object that I want to create the stencil with. There, once that you get your image printed out on your plastic, all you need to do now is get your Etcho blade. Very, very carefully start cutting the plastic out. Holding the plastic very firmly. You don't want any. So as you can see, to cut this pine tree out took me but a moment. I basically just traced around the black edges and boom, we have a beautiful handmade stencil. So let's now talk about stenciling techniques and how to do it correctly. Today from my collection I have 3 different colors. I have a grass green, a pine green, and a permanent yellow green. All 3 of them I'm going to be using on our pine tree today. And I'm also going to be demonstrating the large 1/1 size style stenciling brush. So let's put down our lightest color first, because that's the color that will be the largest area. So application of our acrylic paint. Again, loading up our stenciling brush like this, tamping it off, making sure that it's dry, and let's now start applying our color down. Once we have our first color down, I'm going to be using now a grass green, which is another slightly darker color. I'm going to be adding that now. I'm not even going to wash the brush because I'm just going to charge right into that. The great thing about stenciling is blending the 2 types of paints together creates a really unique pattern. And for our final color, let's now use our dark, rich pine green. I like this color a lot. It's going to add a whole new layer of effect. And since it's the darkest of our colors, let's go around the edges. Now that the paint has dried, let's very carefully take off the soft masking tape and let's see our beautiful image. Whoa, that came out awesome. Wow. So in the second segment of my program today, I'm going to be showing you how to take a shirt and revamp it very easily. This over here is something that I found at a dollar store. It is a drain cover and the holes are just beautiful. I love this, and it has a nice polysynthetic finish on it so I can use it again and again and again and again. So you will also need some cardboard. Now if you have an old stained t-shirt like this one, you're going to want to put the cardboard in here to create a working area. And the reason is that if the paint should leak through and go to the second layer of fabric, you have a big problem. Now, here we have a nice area to work on, and I'll remove that fiber just for fun. Placing out your stencil where you would like it. And the great thing about revamping t-shirts is if you have a t-shirt that's stained, you could always dye it and use a stencil on it. A completely new t-shirt is remade. And today I'm going to be using 2 different types of stencils to create my design today. So let's put the first design down using the masking tape. Now, the first thing you need to know is working on fabric, so I'm going to be using fabric paints today. I have 2 different types. They're created by the company called Dylon. And let's put out our first style over here. Dry. And let's start putting our design down. Here, I'm increasing the paint around the edge to create an outline because I want the outer color to be more outlined than the center. Now, once the pattern is dry, let's peel it off. And you can recycle this pattern again and again and again and again and again. Just imagine stenciling your own t-shirts at home. The possibilities are endless. Now, with this, let's now go back into our lotus flower and put the lotus flower right in the center again. Once your paint is dry, very carefully take off the masking tape and the stencil to reveal an absolutely beautiful pattern we have formed. A shirt revamped gorgeously. How cool is that? Alright, let's go on to another fabric. Be using our handmade pine tree stencil. Let's create something very cool. Let's go into our Dylon white today, which I laid out. Loading up, stamping off. And creating a kind of a wintry scene. Paint, we did a beautiful first layer of Dylon white. Let's go into another form of Dylon blue here, mixing it in with the Dylon white, and let's layer this down. Brush. Just make sure it's dry and tamped off. Going around the edges directly. Just nice and dry. And once now your paint is dry, very carefully take off masking tape and reveal your precious artwork. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And I hope you've enjoyed this wonderful and easy to do stenciling project here on Historical Recreations. Gothically yours, Professor M.